The alien council is on high alert as a mysterious signal from the long-forgotten human ship, the Black Ship, returns to the galaxy. The vessel is far more dangerous than they had ever anticipated. As they scramble to assess the situation, the gravity of the impending threat becomes clear. Humanity's ship, built for a forgotten purpose, is returning armed and unstoppable. Inside the Alien Council's command center, the usual hum of their operations was eerily muted. The screen flickered once, drawing the attention of the Council's members. This wasn't just any routine transmission. The code, encrypted and unknown, was unmistakably human. A new communication had arrived, originating from a ship last heard of over 2 centuries ago. A tense silence fell as the holographic projection of the Black Ship materialized on the screen. For the first time in centuries, the Council's members found themselves speechless. The ship was massive, its design strange and unsettling, constructed from materials never before seen in the galaxy. At first glance, it appeared almost primitive, but a deeper scan revealed the truth. The ship's systems were far more advanced than anything the Council had ever faced, and its energy signatures were unlike any they had ever encountered. Dangerous, volatile. What is this? One of the Council's higher-ranking members, a warlord from a species known for their brutal conquests, barked. His voice trembled, despite his attempt to mask it. "It cannot be. We destroyed all traces of their kind centuries ago." "We were wrong to think they were dead," another advisor murmured, a hint of fear creeping into his voice. "This ship, it's unlike anything we've seen. It's not just another human vessel." The hologram flickered again, revealing a terrifyingly accurate readout of the ship's weapon systems. In a galaxy where warships had evolved over millennia, the Black Ship was an anomaly. Its weapons were capable of rupturing space itself, folding reality in ways the Empire had long believed impossible. Its cloaking systems rendered it undetectable, while gravity-manipulating technology could shift entire fleets off course, flinging them into the void without warning. And what made it more terrifying was the sheer presence it emanated. This wasn't just a weapon. It was a message. The Council's silence deepened, replaced by murmurs of fear and doubt. The Empress stood, her tall figure casting a long shadow. Across the room, her eyes, once filled with confidence, were now clouded with uncertainty. She approached the console, her gaze locking onto the now active transmission. "We have been caught unaware," the Empress spoke, her voice colder than the vacuum of space itself. "Activate all intercept systems. I want every ship on full alert. If humanity's greatest weapon has returned, we must be ready to confront it." But even as she spoke, her thoughts betrayed her. The Black Ship was no ordinary vessel. It was built for a purpose that no one knew, and the humans who had once sent it into the void had clearly done so for a reason. Now, that purpose was coming, back to haunt them. The transmission switched to a visual feed, showing the Black Ship in all its terrifying glory, now emerging from the cloak of space. A chill ran down the Empress's spine as the image of the ship, the ghost ship of humanity's forgotten era, filled the screen. Then, the voice echoed through the room, clear and resolute, the words simple yet chilling. "This is Commander Alana. Davis of the Black Ship, you have no idea what you've awakened. We've returned." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the Council in stunned silence. The Empress's heart raced as she glanced toward her advisors, but they had no answers for her. Meanwhile, on the Black Ship, Commander Alana Davis stood before the view of the galaxy. The ship's engines hummed softly beneath her feet as her crew worked tirelessly around her. They had crossed the stars to bring the fight to those who had underestimated humanity for so long. Davis wasn't worried about the Empire. She knew what the Black Ship could do. What she feared now was something else, the cost of using its full power. The ship was dangerous, yes, but so was the power it carried. This wasn't just about winning a battle. This was about ensuring humanity's place in the universe. And that was a responsibility she didn't take lightly. She glanced at the tactical readouts, confirming the immense power the black ship now wielded. Hidden deep within its systems were forgotten technologies, designed not just to fight, but to survive the impossible. The ship was built for death, death to those who would dare challenge Earth, and to those who sought to enslave or destroy them. It was more than just a weapon. It was a statement, and Davis was ready to make that statement loud and clear. The countdown began, and she could almost feel the weight of every second that passed. The ship's weapons began to charge. Humanity had been underestimated for far too long. They had made mistakes, but those mistakes had led them here. Now the black ship would return the favor. We are the ones who decide what happens next, Davis muttered to herself, her voice low but filled with deadly purpose. And we will not be the prey anymore. The black ship surged forward, breaking through the stars and heading straight into the heart of enemy space. What awaited them would be a battle for the ages, one that would forever change the course of the galaxy. As the transmission ended, the Empress looked down at her hands, her fingers trembling for the first time in decades. She had never been one to fear, but this was different. Humanity had come back with a vengeance, and there was no telling how far they would go. One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The black ship drifted through the void, its immense form cloaked by the technology that had been its trademark for centuries. The ship's dark hull shimmered in the inky blackness, a ghost in the starless void of space. It had been lost to history, forgotten by many, but humanity had never truly abandoned it. The ship's return had been the call for all of humanity's forgotten warriors, their forgotten ships, and their hidden technologies. The galaxy would soon see what had been concealed for so long. Inside the ship's bridge, Commander Alana Davis stood, her hands clenched into fists as she gazed out at the endless expanse of space. The ship was ready, its systems hummed with power, weapons primed, engines charged. Every part of it was designed for one purpose: to reclaim the galaxy from those who had once underestimated humanity. "We're almost there," said Lieutenant Maria Stone, her voice calm but filled with tension. She sat at her station, monitoring the incoming data streams. The Empire's defenses are starting to detect us, but they won't know what hit them. Davis didn't respond immediately. Her eyes were fixed on the holographic display before her, showing the trajectories of the incoming alien forces. They were massing near a system that had once been under their complete control, a symbol of the Empire's dominance. Now it would be the first of many systems that would see humanity's true might. The black ship wasn't the only thing humanity had hidden away. Over the years, scattered fleets of human vessels had been built in secret, on the edges of known space. These ships, each one designed to survive on the most hostile of worlds, were the legacy of humanity's defiance. They were Deathworlders' ships, built for one purpose: to survive the worst and fight back with everything they had, and the black ship was their flagship, their ultimate weapon. "Commander!" a voice came through from another corner of the ship. It was Captain Victor, her second-in-command. "We've received a transmission from the Empress herself. She demands our surrender." Davis turned slowly, her eyes narrowing. Surrender? The nerve. She took a step toward the communication. "Consul, respond back. Tell her we don't surrender." "We never surrendered. We came to reclaim what's ours." "Yes, Commander," Victor said. "The transmission was sent." Davis turned back to the stars. "The Empire has no idea what they're dealing with." Across the galaxy, the Alien Council had been in disarray. The black ship's signal had hit like a hammer, and the Empire's response was one of chaos. They had underestimated humanity for far too long, assuming they had wiped them out. assuming their technology was primitive and their will broken. They had been wrong, and now the black ship had returned, not just as a symbol of humanity's power, but as a harbinger of their wrath. The Council's command center was filled with chaos as the alien commanders scrambled to understand the new threat. The Empress stood at the front, her sharp, angular features tight with tension as she stared at the projection of the human fleet. This cannot be real. The black ship? But how? They should have been wiped out centuries ago. The high-ranking warlord beside her, a massive creature with scales that glittered like obsidian, shifted uneasily. We thought they were nothing but primitive survivors. We never accounted for this. That ship was never meant to be part of our galaxy again, the Empress finished, her voice like ice. We did not prepare for this. We need to destroy them before they become a threat. A chill ran through the command room as the council members exchanged uneasy glances. The black ship wasn't just a symbol of humanity's resurgence. It was a weapon designed to break the galaxy's existing power structures, and the technology on board, hidden from the Empire's eyes for so long, was far beyond what they could have ever anticipated. "What do we know about the ship?" the Empress asked, her voice sharp. One of her officers responded, "The ship is cloaked as expected, but it has already disabled our probes. We cannot scan it directly. Its weapons are unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it." The bow. Empress clenched her fists. "Then we will meet it with everything we have. Prepare the fleet, full assault. We will crush them before they can reach our core systems." The alien fleet, already massive in scale, began to mobilize. The Empress's commands were clear: strike hard, strike first, and never stop. But deep down, she could feel the gnawing uncertainty that threatened to undo everything she had built. The black ship had proven one thing already. Humanity's ingenuity and will to survive was not something to be underestimated. Back on the black ship, Davis stood, watching as her officers worked at their stations. The ship's long-range sensors had detected the incoming Empire fleet, a massive swarm of ships that moved with the precision of a well-oiled machine. But that machine, like all others, had a weakness. "Prepare to engage," Davis ordered. "We've waited long enough. Let them feel the power of humanity." Victor gave a sharp nod, turning to his console. "Weapons primed. All systems are at full capacity, Commander." The ship's internal alarms went off, signaling that they were within range. The black ship decloaked, revealing its full power. Its weapons powered up, and the surrounding space seemed to ripple with an unnatural force. Gravity wells began to form, distorting the fabric of space and slowing the incoming ships. The black ship was already moving, faster than anything the Empire had ever seen. "Deploy all forces," the Empress shouted as she watched the human ship move into range. "Don't let it get any closer." Her fleet fired, massive beams of energy racing toward the black ship, but Davis was prepared. The ship's nanotech defenses activated, creating an impenetrable shield that absorbed the blasts, redirecting the energy harmlessly into the void. As the Empire's fleet drew closer, the black ship's weapons came online. One by one, enemy ships began to disintegrate, their shields collapsing under the sheer force of the black ship's energy beams. The gravity wells continued to warp space, pulling ships into strange orbits, making them easy targets for the deadly weapons that followed. Davis stood at the helm, her hands gripping the console as she watched the destruction unfold. "This is for Earth, for all the lives they took, for the ones who believed humanity was weak." As the black ship decimated the first wave of the Empire's fleet, the Empress stood in her command center, unable to comprehend the scale of what was happening. The ships she had commanded, her Empire's pride, were being torn apart. How is this possible?" she whispered. The officer beside her turned to face her. Their technology, it's far beyond anything we have. Our systems are ineffective against their weapons. They're too advanced. This isn't just about technology, the Empress muttered, her mind racing. They've learned. They've adapted. They've come back with a vengeance. As the second wave of reinforcements pushed forward, the Black Ship unleashed its final weapon, a devastating EMP pulse that disabled every remaining ship in the Empire's fleet. The once mighty ships of the Empire fell silent, their power systems failing. The Empress, now standing in the middle of a shattered command center, could only watch in disbelief. The Black Ship had done what no one thought possible. It had shattered the heart of the Empire with ruthless efficiency. Davis watched the destruction unfold on the ship's screens. The Empire had been shattered, its forces crippled, and it was only a matter of time before they would retreat, broken and humbled. This is only the beginning, Davis said quietly to herself, the weight of their success settling in. Humanity had returned, not just as survivors, but as the galaxy's new power, and with that power they would reshape the future. The Black Ship turned back toward the depths of space, its mission completed. But for the first time in centuries, humanity stood on the precipice of something far greater than survival. They had shown the galaxy that they were no longer the prey. They were the hunters. The battle had subsided, leaving a stark and unsettling silence in the void of space. The once proud fleets of the Empire now lay in ruin, their ships scattered across the galaxy like broken toys, drifting aimlessly in the wake of humanity's devastating counterattack. The Black Ship lingered at the center of it all, its massive form still cloaked, a silent sentinel amidst the destruction it had caused. Inside the Black Ship, Commander Alana Davis stood in the center of the operations room, her eyes fixed on the holographic displays. The glow from the projections bathed her face in an eerie light as she watched the last remnants of the Empire's fleet retreat. Their power had been shattered, their arrogance crushed. The Empire was not just on the back foot, it was broken. "Status. Report," Davis ordered, her voice steady but edged with something unspoken. Lieutenant Maria Stone, who had been manning the tactical console, turned to face her with a mixture of awe and apprehension. "Commander, all enemy ships have been disabled. They're in full retreat. We've damaged their primary shipyards and crippled their communications network. The Empire, they're done." A slow, grim smile spread across Davis's face. "It's a victory, but it's not over. We've only just started. Their retreat doesn't mean they've learned their lesson. They'll come for us again, and next time we'll be ready." The victory was hollow, while the destruction of the Empire's forces was a monumental success. Davis knew the cost of this victory. She had seen the carnage it left behind. Thousands of lives had been lost, and even more would be lost before this war was finished. But that was the price of survival. Humanity had learned it the hard way. The Black Ship was humanity's response to the constant threat of annihilation. A weapon forged not only from advanced technology, but from the bones of the dead, the sacrifice of those who had fought before them. Davis knew that this ship, and the fleet that now followed in its wake, was a symbol of defiance. They had been called the Death Worlders, the survivors of the harshest environments in the galaxy, but now they were more than that. They were a force to be reckoned with. "Commander," Stone continued, her voice cutting through Davis's thoughts, "the remaining Empire ships are retreating to the outer systems. We've crippled their ability to rebuild, but there are still pockets of resistance. We're going to need more firepower if we want to ensure they don't return." Davis turned, her expression hardening. "We won't wait for them to recover. We go after their strongholds now. Hit them where it hurts. No mercy." The order was clear, and it was one that resonated with every member of her crew. This wasn't just a battle for survival anymore. It was a message to the entire galaxy. Humanity would no longer be a footnote in history. They were the apex predators. Now, Elsewhere in the galaxy, the remnants of the Empire's forces regrouped in the shadows, licking their wounds and nursing their pride. The destruction had been swift, unexpected, and overwhelming. The loss of the fleet, the death of so many soldiers, and the loss of key strategic systems had left the Empire fractured. But even in the wake of their devastating loss, the galaxy's most powerful empire was not ready to give up just yet. In the heart of their hidden command center, the Empress sat silently, her eyes locked on the holographic map of the galaxy. She had just witnessed the unthinkable, the fall of her fleet, the crumbling of everything she had spent her life building. The Black Ship had done what no one believed possible. It had torn through her forces with a precision and power she couldn't comprehend. "How did we miss this?" she muttered to herself, her voice barely above a whisper. The Empress had always been confident, unwavering in her belief that the Empire was invincible. But now that confidence had been shattered, just like her fleet. The Black Ship wasn't just a human ship, it was a force of nature. It was a weapon that had been built for one purpose, to bring the Empire to its knees. A nervous officer stood at attention beside her, waiting for a response. "Empress, we can rebuild. We have the resources. We can strike back at the humans. But we must act quickly. They are already pressing into our territories." The Empress turned her gaze to him, her eyes dark with fury. "Rebuild? We are not rebuilding. We are not fighting back, not yet." "But, Empress, I will not repeat the same mistakes again." The Empress interrupted, her voice cold and firm. "We will not fight blindly. The humans, they've adapted, they've learned. We will take a different approach. We need to study them, understand them. Only then will we strike." The officer hesitated before speaking again. "But, Empress, they are coming for us. They will not stop until we are all dead." The Empress's lips curled into a dangerous smile. "Then we will make them think they've won. Let them come, but we will ensure they never know what hit them." On the Black Ship, the crew moved with military precision as Davis's orders were carried out. The fleet had set a course toward the Empire's outermost colonies, determined to finish what had been started. They would strike at the heart of the Empire's control, and they would not stop until every vestige of the Empire was destroyed. Davis stood in the center of the bridge, watching as her officers moved around her, every one of them focused on the task at hand. The Black Ship was now the spearhead of humanity's retribution, and they would strike hard. "We've received a transmission from the outer colonies," Stone said, her voice urgent. "They're preparing to deploy reinforcements. It seems they've learned of our attack." Davis's lips tightened. "So they're not finished yet. But they will be. We'll make sure of that." With a deep breath, she turned to face her crew. "The Empire has had its time. Now it's ours. Let's finish this." The Black Ship accelerated, its engines roaring to life as the crew prepared for the final assault. Every human aboard that vessel knew what was at stake. This wasn't just about victory, it was about survival. It was about showing the galaxy that humanity would no longer be a subjugated species. They were no longer prey. They were predators, and the Empire was their next meal. As the Black Ship sailed toward the Empire's last stronghold, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The final confrontation was imminent. There was no turning back now. In the cold depths of space, only one truth remained. Humanity had come for the Empire, and they would not stop until it was destroyed. The Black Ship had returned, and it was more dangerous than ever. The galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had fallen silent in anticipation of the final clash. As the Black Ship neared the outermost defenses of the Empire's last stronghold, a single thought ran through Commander Alana Davis's mind. This is it. The moment humanity proves that we will never bow again. Her hands gripped the command console, her knuckles white as she studied the holographic displays. The Empire's final defense was formidable, a fortress surrounded by a fleet that had rebuilt itself from the ashes of their last defeat. But it was too late. Humanity had learned, adapted, and now they were going to finish what they started. "All systems are operational, Commander," Lieutenant Maria Stone said from her station, her voice calm but tight with tension. "We're in range of their outer defense perimeter." Davis nodded. The path ahead was clear, but there was still the matter of the Empire's formidable weaponry. Their outer defense perimeter was heavily fortified with mines, anti-ship cannons, and cloaking systems designed to prevent any surprise attacks. However, the Black Ship was unlike anything the Empire had ever encountered. Its gravity, wells, nanotech, and EMP capabilities had already crippled entire fleets. Now, they would do the same to the last remnants of the Empire's power. Davis took a deep breath and addressed her crew, her voice unwavering. "We've come this far, and we're not stopping now. Prepare for the final assault. We've taken everything from them, and now we finish it, full deployment." "Yes, Commander," her officers responded in unison, their resolve matching hers. The Black Ship shook slightly as its massive weapon systems powered up, the hum of energy filling the command room. "Enemy fleet entering visual range," Stone reported. The screen in front of them blinked to life, revealing the vast array of ships awaiting them. The Empire had gathered its best ships, each one larger and more powerful than the last. But humanity had something the Empire had lost: unity. The fleet behind the Black Ship was small but tightly coordinated, each vessel purposefully placed. Each one armed with technology the Empire would never have believed possible. Davis's mind raced as she analyzed the battle ahead. The Empire's fleet was lined up, their weapons charged and ready to fire. The distance between the two forces was closing rapidly, and she knew they had only one chance to strike. "Activate cloaking," she ordered. The Black Ship vanished into the darkness of space, its cloaking technology rendering it invisible to the enemy's sensors. The remaining human fleet followed suit, and the entire force seemed to disappear from the Empire's view. It was only a momentary reprieve. The time to strike was now. "We're inside their perimeter," Stone announced, deploying gravity wells. The Black Ship fired its gravity-manipulating weapons, sending ripples through space as the enemy ships were pulled off course, their movements erratic. The Empire's fleet struggled to maintain cohesion as the human ships appeared out of nowhere, decloaking just as the gravity wells caused a chain reaction of disarray among the enemy. The Empire's fleet opened fire in panic, but the Black Ship and its allies were already in motion, dodging and weaving with impossible precision. Energy beams and missiles erupted in the dark void, but the humans were too fast, too unpredictable. EMP blast in 5, 4, 3, Stone counted. Down. The tension in the air was palpable as Davis watched the countdown timer in her mind. The Black Ship unleashed an EMP wave that swept through the enemy fleet like a tidal wave. The results were immediate. Dozens of enemy ships froze, their systems shutting down as the EMP scrambled their power grids. Communication channels went silent, and weapon systems powered down. "We've got them," Davis said quietly, her eyes never leaving the screen. But the Empress wasn't done yet. In a desperate move, she ordered a final counterattack, activating the Empire's last-ditch weapon, a massive energy cannon capable of wiping out entire fleets in a single shot. The weapon powered up with a deep, menacing hum, and Davis knew they had only seconds before it fired. "Brace for impact!" Davis shouted. The Black Ship plunged forward, narrowly avoiding the blast. The sheer force of the cannon's power surged past them, carving through space like a comet, vaporizing everything in its path. But the humans were ready. The Black Ship used its nanotech shields to absorb much of the blast, the surface of the ship momentarily flashing with white-hot energy. The Black Ship's hull shimmered, but it held firm. "Take it down," Davis barked. The remaining human ships focused their fire on the massive cannon, unleashing every last bit of their weaponry in a concentrated assault. The black ship deployed its cloaking technology once again, reappearing only to unleash a final, concentrated barrage of its own weaponry. The Empire's massive cannon exploded in a burst of energy, disintegrating before their eyes. One by one, the Empire's remaining ships fell. Some exploded in a fiery cascade of light, while others were torn apart by the relentless human assault. The battlefield was a graveyard of metal, a monument to humanity's return to power. Davis stood in silence, her gaze fixed on the destruction. She felt no joy in it, no sense of triumph. The price had been too high, but it had to be done. The Empire's reign had lasted far too long, and humanity had paid the price for their arrogance. Now it was over. "We did it," Stone whispered, her voice filled with awe. "It's over." Davis turned slowly, her face hard as stone. "For now, maybe, but the war is never truly over. We've proven that humanity will never again be ruled by anyone but ourselves. We won't let anyone make the same mistake of underestimating us again." The silence that followed was thick with the weight of their victory. The black ship had completed its mission. The Empire was no more. But humanity had no illusions about what came next. There were always new threats, new challenges. The galaxy would never stop turning, and neither would humanity. The black ship's engines hummed softly as it turned toward the stars. Ahead lay an uncertain future, but one that was theirs to shape. The battle was won, but the war for the galaxy's future was just beginning, and humanity would be ready, always.